So this AI agent will scrape all the LinkedIn profiles from Google based on a search query. So let me just quickly show you demo, and then we can basically be building this out from scratch. So let's get step by step. So hi, I want to scrape for data scientists in Miami. This is my search query. Now this will basically trigger the AI workflow. This is actually a wait node. We're trying to wait for some sort of seconds. It requests the Google Search API, tries to record everything to a Google Sheet. If you see this Google Sheet, all the data is coming up. And then we have Google Sheet with title, subtitle, link, which is the LinkedIn URL, and the snippet of what exactly is the profile about. And once everything is populated, you see all of this getting populated. And once this is done, we'll basically be able to get all the URLs from a specific search query. And these are all essentially the data scientists. If you see, let's just have a look on this profile. I'll just quickly show you that we have indeed scraped a data scientist. So there's a senior data scientist in Miami. Okay. So this is how it works. Now, what is the premise behind working is basically we are trying to scrape based on a wildcard. This is the wildcard that I use site colon linkedin.com/in, and this is the search query. So if you want to scrape for any other, let's say if I want to search for realtors in Dubai, it will basically give you all the profiles which are realtor in Dubai. But how do you scrape these results is what will be basically showing you, and how do you put it into a workflow. So this was the demo. Let me just quickly show you on how to build this up from scratch, step by step. So let us just quickly go to a new workflow. Okay, you go to a new workflow, and then the first node that you see over here is chat node. So I'll simply click chat trigger. This is the first node that you need. Again, if you're familiar with N8N, you might have come across and used these nodes as well. The second node that we are going to do is basically a LLM chain node. Now, what is a basic LLM chain node is it will try to get the input, whatever we have added in the chat box, and it will try to pass a query out of it. So what I am going to do is basically give the agent a system prompt as well as the user prompt. So user prompt is going to be the query that I am adding through the chatbot, and I'll basically dig deeper into the system prompt. By the way, all of this is going to get, is going to be available in my AI community, cobuildwithai.com, wherein you can browse all the courses, all the AI agents we have made so far in the channel, and you can basically master it from scratch. So this is all at your convenience. We'll have all the prompts and everything that you see. You'll be able to build it out from scratch. So you are a LinkedIn profile query builder. Your job is to take user natural language request and turn it into a Google search query that finds LinkedIn profile. Okay. You must always reply in the exact format. There we have a reply format. This is actually using a structured output. If you see, we have added a structured output parser as well over here, and the model that I'm using is the chat model. So the next node that we'll do is basically basic LLM chain. Okay, whatever input that will come is from the chat node, so this is fine, but we'll have to add a system prompt as well as a user prompt. So I'll just select user prompt over here. Okay, and just copy paste the prompt that we have over here, which is, so system prompt is basically this one. Again, everything is going to get available in the community, so you can pretty much use the same. This is my system prompt, and the user prompt is this one, which is, here's the query, and this is the chat input. So I'll just paste this out. You have to execute the previous node, so just save it up, add a model. This time I'm going to use OpenAI model. Okay, OpenAI model, let's say GPT 4.1 mini is fine. Now again, if you need help with setting up the credentials, you can watch my previous video. I've explained everything on how to do this. And then we also need to do, which is, you also need to add up a structured parser. So make sure to click this require output in specific format. So it tries to enable the output parser. Okay, and in this output parser, you basically select structured output parser, and JSON that you will give over here, which is, so generate from JSON example, and you will basically give the JSON as this. So query Google optimized wildcard, which essentially is this wildcard that we're getting, which is site dot site linkedin.com/in and data scientist in Miami. Again, this is very optimized for Google, so you can't just hard code it because we are actually leveraging all of the AI stuff that we can use to search on Google in a efficient way. Because AI, basically the model will know more kinds of wildcard than you, so you can't just hard code it like this. So I'll just copy paste this I will just copy paste this JSON and just paste it over here. I think this is done. Click on save. Let me just quickly run this. Okay. I want to scrape teachers in Los Angeles. Okay. Now once it is done, we'll basically output in this format. So if you see this is what we have outputted. Now let's just continue with the workflow. The third node that we need is basically a if node. Now this is actually a loop because we want to run this workflow as basically until we run out of pages to scrape. Again, you can keep a default static limit. For time being, I've kept it as 2. That means you will get 2 search pages scraped. So let's say this is page 1 and this is page 2. Okay, this is page 2. Okay, so basically 2 pages will be scraped. If you want to extend, let's say if you're not getting 50-20 leads per page, or if you want more leads, you can scrape as many pages as you want, but you have to keep a limit to it as well. Okay, and this is what we are going to do. So we are going to basically add a if node, which means the runIndex. I'll basically show you how it works. So just add a if node. Okay, if node, and use this variable. Now this is actually a variable by N8N runIndex. So if you just hover over the runIndex, it will give you the index of current run. That means if this node gets executed once, the index would be 1. If this node get executed twice, the index would be twice. Okay, and what we are trying to do is basically this index or whatever run that we are trying to do is basically less than, this is less than the default page limit that you have. Let's say if you plan to scrape 2 pages, you can add 2 over here. Let's say if you plan to have 5 pages, you can add 5 over here. For simplicity, I'll just add 2. And make sure to add a check, which is convert types were required. It's not required always, but sometimes N8N does give you error when there is some issue with the data type. Okay, so this is the node 3. I'll just tidy up my workflow a bit. Okay, so whenever we have runIndex, which means the current index, current run is less than 2, we have just started the run, and then it will loop until you run out of basically it will loop until you get exhausted. You basically exhaust the pages. So now the node that we will have to add is a wait node. Now why I added a wait node is because there were some issues that I got mostly with this HTTP request. This is actually a Serper API. I'll come back to this. And it was trying to give me some rate limits. That's why we added this node. So let's just add a wait node over here. Okay, wait node. And then what you need to do is basically specify the interval. So this is 5 seconds, which works fine for me. So I'll do similar 5 seconds over here. And this is a very crucial node because if you don't add this, you can play around with the time, the seconds, but it's essential to have this node. Then we are going to request basically the Serper API. This is the Google search scraper API. If you just go and browse around and find Serper API, okay, this is basically the cheapest Google search API that you can get. So, and the good thing is they basically get you 2500 queries for free. That means you definitely don't need any credit card to scrape close to 2500 leads like that too for free. And you can basically use a different email to again get access to more leads. So you can search for images, can search for news, maps, all of that. Okay, but for time being, we're only going to do a Google search. Okay, so I already happen to have my account. So if I just quickly log in, I'll just quickly log in to my account. Okay, so you see these are the credits left, and this is the usage that I did. So what you need to do is basically create an API key first. So if you don't have an API key, you need to create an API key. So create new API key. This is, let's say, Google search API key N8N. Okay. If you create, okay, again, you basically need to not share this API key with anyone, because if anybody gets access to this, they might just exhaust all the credits that you have. So you copy the API key, and what we'll be doing is basically using this curl command. So this curl command will basically search for a query to the Google, and they'll basically get all the results out of it. So this is how you can play around with it. You can explicitly specify which country you want to search it. Let's say if you want to search leads in United States, Afghanistan, Albania, you can also do a specific query as well. It will just get appended over here. But if you want to default it out, it's fine as well. I think the default would be United States, so you don't have to add anything over here. You can also keep location, specific location, because let's say if you only want leads in this particular location. Language is also doable, and then this is the query that we are interested in. And then there's one more parameter that I brought it, which was this page, wherein how many pages that you want to scrape. So I had pages as 2. That means you want to scrape page 1, page 2, page 3, and you can go basically on and on until you run out of their credits, or let's say some sort of limitations that the API did. So this is how you will do. So what we need to do is basically just copy out the curl command. By default, it would give you curl command. Just copy this out, and then you basically need a HTTP node, okay? And then you import the curl command that we have. Okay, this is imported. Once this is imported, you basically get to see everything. All the parameters would get populated, and we just fill in few details over here. Again, don't just expose this API key. I'll absolutely going to delete this out. And what we need is just few variables that we could pass it on to these HTTP node. So what variables that we have to pass is, we basically need to pass the LinkedIn search format that the AI agent gave us. So this is the format, and we also need to pass the page we need to scrape, which is going to get computed dynamically because of the run index, right? So I'll just go to the URL and I'll paste this input, execute previous node. Okay, I'll just save this out. I'll just delete this part for time being, maybe deactivate this, and I'll run this workflow to get everything. So this is done. Open chat, restart. I want to swap teachers in Miami. Okay, and we'll just walk till this node, so we can use the data from this. Okay, and then we double click on this. We have this search query which we get out of the AI agent node. So I'll just paste this out over here. I'll just replace and remove this part. This is the search query that I'm interested in, and the attribute that I'm interested in is one more attribute, which is page. So I want to scrape which page, right? Because you see, this page parameter will basically tell you which page to scrape, and this is going to be the run index plus 1, which means if the current execution is 0, the page that we want to scrape is 1. If the current execution is 1, we want page scrape 2. Just because we want to start it from 0. And then what you need to do is basically go to this and add equation over here, which is run index plus 1. Okay, run index would be 0, and then you'll have plus 1, which is page 1. Okay, this is done. And now let me just activate this node. Let's see what comes up from there. Okay, we'll just do one more thing, which is run this workflow again. I want to scrape let's say features in Miami, and we'll try to give the API call to this node. I will try to wait for a few seconds and try to do the API call, which gives you the results. Okay, and the results that you got are all these results. Okay, now you see the results are in the format title, link, and snippet, which you could easily pass and store it to Google Sheets, which I'll explain in this just after this node. Okay. Okay, so we have got all the search results from the API, Serper API over here. Now I'll just carry out with the workflow. The thing is, you might have seen that the nodes that I'm planning to run, basically the nodes that I'm running, I need to run it from start, right? It's not necessary, right? Basically, you can just, because it's consuming all the data and all the tokens as well. So what you can do is there is one more feature that N8N lets you use, which is just pinning the node. So if you pin this data is not going to change. This data will stay. So you don't need to do it often. You don't need to rerun it again and again. So this node, again, you can also pin this data because this output is again going to cost us token. So this is coming from the AI node. So just pins this data as well. This data again, because essentially is just 2. The run index is always going to be less than 2. We want this to to be there. Weight is fine because essentially what the data that is coming out of the weight is the same as the query. So this is fine as well. And the HTTP part, we don't need to do another request just because the data is not changing. So what we do is again pin this data. Okay. So whenever we try to do it, we basically are not, if we execute this workflow, is try to just give the correct data. It will try to use the existing data and not requery the endpoints. Okay. Now let's just extend this workflow, which is what we need to do is now basically we have this output, which is in the format of organic, and then we have search parameters. Now, if you see organic, for organic key, we got different, leads. So what we need to do is basically split out this organic into different items. So I can just quickly store them to my Google Sheet. So I need a split out node. So I'll just use split out node over here, and I'll just paste this organic key. Okay, this is my organic field, and I want to include, let's say, all the fields. So let's say this is the optional field, but let's try to execute this part. So what we got is basically title, link, and the snippet and the position. This 4 attributes. And if you see the options, we also have few parameters. You can rename the parameters as well, which we're not going to do for now, but you can if you want. And these are the options. I'll just skip for time being because I'll try to explain this split out node in some other dedicated video. Okay, so we have got all the data that we want, and I'll just try to store it up in the Google Sheet. So I'll just tidy up my workflow a bit. And what you need to do is basically create a new Google Sheet. So if you go and create new, this is going to be LinkedIn AI scraper. Okay. And I'll just give you a demo. Okay. And what I need to do is basically create this 4 columns: title, subtitle, link, and snippet. So I'll just copy paste these columns, and you need to create the exact same columns over here. Okay. All these 4 columns have got created. I go back to my workflow, and then what I'm going to do is basically store it to a Google Sheet, which is going to be appending in the Google Sheet. So if you go to the workflow, I'll just add Google Sheets. This is basically append row in sheet. Okay. And this is the credential that I'm using. Again, if you want help with this credential, stuff, I have already covered everything in my YouTube channel. You can set up the credentials for Google. There are a few steps that you need to do. Once you do this, you'll be able to get the records out of it. The operation, so we are going to select sheet within document, and the operation that we're going to do is append rows. Okay. From the list, we're going to choose the one that we did, which is LinkedIn AI Scraper. This is the sheet that I'm referring to. And it's the tab, which is sheet 1. So I'll just select sheet 1 over here. Okay. And then what we need to do is basically map out the titles, map out the columns accordingly. So we have this 4 fields that are coming out from this node, title node. We'll just pass this out to here. Title. So this is the subtitle. I think subtitle. Where is the subtitle? Wait. Okay, yeah, the subtitle. This is subtitle. This is link, and this is the snippet. Okay, this output is done. I'll just execute this part, and now all of the nodes, basically all of the items that we scrape, are into our Google Sheet. If you see, these are all scraped and all good. Now, this was one run because you want to scrape all of the pages that you have set over here, which is 2 pages. Okay. So what we do basically is just bring this node with a wait node and just connect it to the if node. Okay, so we'll wait for another, let's say, what is the time thing? I think it's 5 seconds. We'll wait for another 5 seconds over here just to conclude the workflow. Wait node. Okay, and this is going to be 5 seconds. And what we want to do is basically just run it again. So this run will basically happen as long as we have the run index, which is the current node run, is less than 2. That means first time it will run, which is 0. Second time it will run, which is 1. And the third time it will try to run with the value 2. It will just basically, be a false condition and will basically return to this state, which is, I'll just respond to the webhook, which says with the action that I have over here, scraping successful. Okay, this will, you'll get this message when you have all the run that are done. Okay, so I'll just step this system. We'll try to execute all the workflow that we have, and then let's see if everything works out well. So this is again wait, and you see this is again going to second loop. That means we are just doing the second scraping, and once everything is done, we'll basically go to the respond to webhook node, which says scraping is successful. Okay, this is what the workflow did. So just tidy up the workflow a bit, and we'll give a quick run the final time. So this is how we got all the teachers from Miami easy. And just quickly do one simple test. Hi, I want to scrape for realtors in Dubai, and unpin and send. This will basically just trigger the workflow. And let's just wait for our leads to show up in the sheet. Okay, I think it's using the pin node over here. That's why you see all of this unpin. Okay, I'll have to unpin a lot of things over here because this is not outputting the real data. It's just using this pin one. So I'll just unpin few things. This is unpinned, this is unpinned. And then what we need to do is, I think that's it. Just click on save and run it again. I'll just clear this part as well. Okay, this is done. I want to script for realtors in Dubai, and this is going to get another run for us. This time it's actually going to do a search query because we have just removed all the unpinned ones. So we're going to do another wait, and let's see, this is what we are seeing. So we got all the LinkedIn profiles for the realtor. Okay, if you see, all of them are realtor. And then you can pretty much copy paste this LinkedIn URLs, do some other automation on top. Let's see if you want to enrich, extract emails, send them personalized emails, all of that could be done. So this node just got timed out. Let me check. I think this is because we had some issues with this query parameter. I think it's not coming from this. We have to use this one, basic LLM chain. Okay, just use this part. Just remove this. Okay, so this is how it will work. And again, if you have any questions on how to help, how to basically implement this, please comment. I'll help you out with whatever I could. And then please join the community. You'll have our dedicated complete tutorial with the prompt for this video. And thank you. Hope you like the video. Please give a like and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you in the next video.